Welcome to the Etihad Cargo Connections with 10 Furlong Magazine. I'm your host today, Aurelian. Today we speak to Adrian Bott, a prominent Australian thoroughbred horse trainer renowned for his successful partnership with Gay Waterhouse. Together, they form an amazing team in the world of horse racing. Bott's expertise and strategic approach have contributed significantly to their success in training top-notch race horses, making him a respected figure in the Australian horse racing industry. So, Adrian, thank you so much for being here, first of all.
Arian, thank you very much, and thank you for the kind introduction.
Great. So how are things looking like in the yard at present? And are there any interesting horses we can expect to see?
Yeah, obviously, we're just sort of beginning the build up to the spring carnival now. So 1st of September, I guess that sort of officially kicks off spring down here. But the first Group 1 racing actually starts this weekend with the Winx Stakes. So we're sort of really starting to sort of get a roll on into the spring very quickly. But yeah, throughout September, October and November, certainly, there's some fantastic racing. So most of our Group 1 horses are beginning their campaigns now and sort of beginning that with a few sort of public trials we like to give them before they resume racing. So over the last few weeks and over the coming weeks, most of our horses that will be representing us over the carnival will be stepping out in trial format. So it'd be interesting to see how some of those, I guess the 2-year-olds have progressed into that sort of 3-year-old sort of grade now. Yeah, those 3-year-olds developing into the open company, whether they can take that weight for age improvement this time round. And some of our older seasoned stayers sort of returning again for, seeing if they've still got as much to offer as they have done in the past for us. So we've got a nice team sort of building, and it's a good sort of exciting couple of months.
Excellent. So quite a busy time right now.
Yeah, well and truly. So we had a set of trials today, some coming up again on Friday. So there've been some important horses to step out for us.
Excellent. What are your aspirations for the season? And do you have any specific wins you're hoping to secure with the Everest, being at the top of the list, of course?
Yeah, certainly that'd be a fantastic race. I'd love to win. Obviously, the prize money is something that cannot be ignored. It's Australia's richest race, or one of the world's richest turf races now, and it's captured the imagination of Australia very, very quickly. And it's something that we'd love to firstly be a part of each year, but secondly to be able to win that would certainly prove to be very, very memorable. Hopefully we've got some nice chances coming through this year that we may be able to represent us. So the next few months, I guess for them, or the next few weeks and their first few runs will be crucial in trying to, I guess, to grab someone's attention to see if we can secure a slot. But in terms of sort of our goals and objectives for the season, I don't sort of set too many specific goals of sort of exactly sort of where it be a certain number of winners or Group 1 winners, etc. But just something that I'd really like to build on the success of the stable each year and just continue to improve the results of the previous season. I think we're going into about our 7th season now, and we're coming off the back of our most successful season to date. So that'll be the challenge this season, to go one further again and better those results, whether that sort of be in, the obviously sort of strike rates, certainly important to an extent, but, Group 1 winners and black type wins is also a good measure of our success at the right end of the industry, and total prize money won's probably a big thing as well. Obviously, it's a good way to gauge that you're winning the right races and the big races and a number of races. And if we're winning large levels of prize money, hopefully that means some good returns and significant returns for our owners, that then they can sort of hopefully reinvest and allow us to continue to try and restock our stable with good quality horses that are going to be competing at that top level for us. And really each year going forward, that's the part, or I guess the aspect of the industry where we really want to be focusing on that top end. So yeah,
sure.
the Everest is right at the top of that.
That makes sense for sure. All right. I'd like to talk a bit about Hawaii 5.0. So if Hawaii 5.0 was a person, how would you describe his characteristic, his personality, his emotion?
He's very, very laid back for quite a big, masculine and very sort of imposing type of horse. Like he's one of the bigger horses that we've got in the stable, in the yard. Very well built, just beautifully proportioned. Got that real sort of masculine stallion type of head. So he's a very attractive type of horse. Everything's where you want it to be. So he's very sexy in that regard. In terms of his personality to go with it, doesn't necessarily show any arrogance about it. He's very cool, very easygoing, sort of quite laid back at times. Which is great. He's got a great constitution to go with it. I guess sometimes he can, he just goes about his business and can probably surprise you. You probably don't fully know what his capabilities are, because if you don't ask him enough, he will, I think, sort of happily just sort of be quite content, just sort of not doing the minimum, but just he's not out there to overdo it and sort of try and grab your attention and show off in that regard. He's very, as I said, very understated, but he shouldn't be. He's got the complete package.
That's great. That's very good. Thank you for sharing. That's great. So we've all heard that story, that after breeding him Magic Millions, Supremo Jerry Harvey intended to sell him Hawaii 5.0. Apparently he thought the horse was worthy of multi-million-dollar, price tag, until John Singleton sent him a $1 million Australian dollar for share in the colt before he went through the ring. How did that horse come to you, actually?
Yeah, well, Jerry Harvey and Singer, I think they've been great mates for a long time, and that's sort of the type of relationship that they can have. Sort of just ring each other up and offer each other certain deals and transfer millions to each other for a bit of a laugh and a bit of a fun. So they've I think throughout their career they've always had a pretty healthy competition, a very healthy relationship in terms of sort of business. Relationship in terms of sort of their competitiveness on the track and their success in that regard. I think they're great mates, but great competitors. They certainly know how to have fun between each other as well. So, it's something that they were able to do, was just sort of I was able to call him up and strike a deal and sort of get what he wanted out of the horse, and sort of put his money where his mouth was in terms of sort of wanting to buy and race the right colt. So he's certainly right on the money in that regard. We were very fortunate. Gay's had a long history training for Singo, and I must say had some tremendous success in doing so. Some of his greatest sort of wins and memories on a racetrack, I would say, would be from the winners that Gay's trained. So there was an opportunity there where John and Gay, where John sort of wanted Gay to continue sort of training sort of most of his horses at this sort of point in his career of the business, and that included Hawaii 5.0. So we're able to take him on this preparation and sort of progress him through his classes, and he finished up with a couple of Group 3 wins and a Group 1 placing in the Stradbroke Handicap. So he's progressed nicely, and I feel there's still certainly he's certainly got more to offer for us.
Fair enough. That's great. Well, it's definitely be a very strong performer, at 1,400 meters. Do you think he will be able to deliver at the Everest 1,200 meters mark?
I do, yeah, and that's going to be the aim for this preparation, is to kick him off over the shorter sprinting distances, try and sort of sharpen him up. I think obviously he's sort of pretty classy in that regard. The Everest itself is, even though it's 1,200 meters, it's it's a high pressure 1200 meters, sort of going off the previous seasons. And, I guess by our standards, the 1200 there at Randwick's quite testing. It's certainly no new market or a European 1200 meter testing, but it's just sort of the starting position and the track itself. It is a high pressure race. And I guess when you're racing for 20 million, that's a few extra reasons to be pouring the pressure on there in that particular race. So a horse that can probably get a little bit beyond 1200 meters, a horse that's sharp enough to be effective at 12, but's got the stamina to potentially see out a strong 1200 or the scope to go to 1400. I think sort of been a profile of the horse. Traditionally, that's been good for the race. So I've got the confidence that he could profile it well in that regard.
Excellent. And what are your plans for him over the next few months, pre-Everest, so to speak?
Yep. So he's stepping out on Friday in a public trial. We'll see him have the 2 trials prior to resuming, and that's going to most likely be in I guess a traditional Everest sort of lead up. There's races, the shorts, the Premier Stakes. They're the sort of 2 main sort of lead up sprint races in Sydney that he'll look to use. So when we get him to those, providing he's able to be as sharp and as competitive as we hope he can be and want him to be, that'll give him his chance for everyone to have a look and hopefully sort of try and qualify himself for the race.
Very well, very well. So what do you think are the chances for him, for Hawaii 5-0, to be selected as a runner in the Everest? Can you confirm anything so far?
Look, there's nothing to confirm in that regard in terms of a slot. So sorry, no news breaks here, but I'm sure he's on a short list for quite a few people. There's only a number of slot holders that have actually secured horses for the race already this year. So there's a number of spots that are open to him and available. And I think quite a number of people are sort of happy to sort of take that approach, that they're happy to wait closer to the race and sort of see a horse that's in form going into the run, rather than sort of securing a horse too far out. Obviously, there are certain profiles that need to be secured very early on, which have already been snapped up. One of them being, the horse he's sort of had the form through in the Stradbroke there, Think It Over. So he would be sort of one of the favoured runners in the race, and he sort of wasn't far off beaten off him. So for a lightly raced horse that's got a nice profile, and some high profile owners such as Singo and Jerry, that I'm sure between them they can, if he's the right horse, I'm sure between them they can strike the right deal and pull a few strings, and I'm sure they'll be able to get something over the line.
So let's imagine that he wins the Everest. What would be next for him then?
Oh, look, I never try and get that far ahead in this industry. They're hard races to be winning, and sort of always trying to manage expectations in that regard. But in terms of sort of the future for the horse, sort of irrespective of a result in that regard, obviously being a colt of his sort of breeding and physique, a big win, whether it be an Everest, but I think a Group 1 win would be so important on his CV or resume. He's potentially, if he can win a Group 1, it'd be sort of one of the most sought after sort of stallion prospects going to stud sort of in Australia, had he been able to win, a Group 1 or the Everest. So there's a lot at stake there in that regard, but that's something that's always at the forefront of our mind as well, just sort of being mindful of that potential future stud value and what are the races that are going to try and add value to that for him going forward. So that's sort of probably what's in store down the line.
For sure. Would you ever consider sending him overseas to compete, with the world's best?
Look, if he was able to conquer Australia, then most definitely. So he's still got a fair bit to go here first in order to prove himself to go over. It's not easy traveling horses, and it's not easy taking on the best in the world over there. Hugely respectful of the quality of bloodstock that's out there, and the type of horse that you need to travel. And I think sort of in terms of constitution, he's certainly the right horse, and I'm sure there's the level of ability there. But I would like to see him have conquered what he needs to in Australia before we sort of look too far there. And as I said, if we were to ever go there, it would be on if it was on the right merits for potential value going forward, or if it was just something that Singo really wanted to, do as a bucket list item in his life. Well, then we're going. If that's what he wants to do, we go. He's at the end of the day, the horses are also there for his, for their enjoyment. They want to have fun. If they want to take on the best in the world and showcase what they've got, well, then we'll be there front and center, and we'll have the horse ready, because that's a big part of it as well. They've really got to, at the end of the day, our owners have to be enjoying themselves and have to be having fun sort of racing the horses. They've got to be performing, but as well as sort of getting something financially out of it. We really want them to enjoy the industry and sort of keep that passion for the horses. That's originally why they're here, isn't it?
That's great, for sure, definitely. Are there any other standout runners from the yard that we should be looking out for this season?
In regards specifically to the Everest?
Yeah.
I guess a mare that everyone would be well and truly aware of is Alcohol Free, who Yulong imported from England, purchasing her from sale out of there, multiple Group 1 winner. And we've only seen her once in Australia, in the Queen of the Turf, where she sort of arrived from a European sort of campaign and out of quarantine. She was obviously a bit disappointing on that occasion, but unfortunately she probably just didn't quite have the right lead up or set up to that. But she's now had a bit of time to acclimatise to Australia. She's had a spell and a break in the paddock, and she's really sort of come back and really refreshed, and she's put on some really good condition. She's got some sort of speed and sprint back in her legs. So she could well be one that would like to look towards the Everest if she returns in the manner in which I feel she can. She's a quality mare, and she's been very sharp and won some of the best sort of sprint races and mile races in Europe. So there's obviously plenty of talent there. I'd love to get her back on track. Alligator Blood is a horse that has been very dear to us. We've had him sort of for the last couple of seasons, and he's won multiple Group 1s for us. So we've got him on a Cox Plate path this preparation. That's a race that Gay's in all her career, she's yet to win a Cox Plate, amazingly. So it's sort of it's a great weight for age race here in Australia, and he could be the horse that I'd love to sort of say that the partnership were able to to win a Cox Plate together. So that'll be his aim, and we'll see if we can try and pull that off this preparation.
Excellent. So quite a few to look out for. That's great.
Well and truly, and hopefully a few more sort of behind that. We had a great season with our 2-year-olds, I feel, last year. We had sort of a number of winners and sort of quite I feel a fair bit of depth in that regard. So now they're all returned as 3-year-olds for the first preparation of the new season. So it'd be interesting to see which ones of those have been able to take that next step and really show that level of improvement. And hopefully we can see a couple of those sort of put their hands up and say they're genuine Group 1 performers.
Great. If you could train Adrian any race, or if you could train the winner of any race in the world, what would it be and why?
That's a very interesting question.
I do like this one.
I've been very fortunate in, I've sort of had a lot of experience in being able to visit and see and sort of travel to sort of many parts of the world, and had experience sort of through, England and Ireland, France, America, Japan, Australia, Dubai. So
wow.
South Africa. I've seen some fantastic racing all over the world, and I think each of them has certainly got their unique sort of points to them, their strong points, and sort of appreciate each and every sort of part of the industry for for those countries for what they are. I got asked this question the other day as well, and I sort of got a little bit stumped. I haven't sort of thought about it too much. I've been so worried about just trying to win a race here in Australia before I've sort of gone too far. But I haven't narrowed it down to a particular race yet.
Okay.
But I must say it is something that I would like to do somewhere in my career, is to campaign a horse internationally successfully. So whether that be taking a horse to Hong Kong for the international meeting in December this year. Obviously that's sort of quite close to us, and I've always sort of enjoyed watching that sort of racing in that part of the world, and we have a lot of correlation with sort of Hong Kong, so that would like to take one up there this season. Whether it be through the World Cup meeting in Dubai, Royal Ascot in England. The Arc is such a great meeting in France, isn't it? A winner on the Breeders' Cup meeting in America. There's so many great sort of racing carnivals and choices that it'd be great if one day I had a horse sort of good enough and it sort of fitted in with their sort of career and programs, that any one of those sort of races I'd really cherish, and would actually sort of walk away being very, very proud if we're able to sort of tick off sort of one of those races. Certainly feel that'd be a big accomplishment if we could pull one of those off. So haven't narrowed it down. That's a broad spectrum, but I got to find the horse first.
There are so many amazing races around the world, so it's hard to choose one for sure.
Well, luckily, the world's sort of getting a bit smaller in that regard, and sort of the travel, and sort of, I think, sort of people's ideas and sort of perceptions about sort of traveling, and we're learning more, and sort of how to work in with sort of various carnivals and the various types of horses that we might be sort of breeding or buying, that might suit sort of being able to target those certain sort of races. So I think it's there's greater opportunities now to be able to sort of do that in campaign than there has been previously.
Great. And finally, Adrian, my last question. So obviously, our horse racing is undoubtedly a thrilling and challenging business. Could you share with us a memorable experience, or maybe an instance of triumph or setback that has significantly influenced your approach as a trainer?
Yeah, sure. I guess for me, I feel there's sort of a real turning point in sort of the early part of my career, I guess. As you said, it can be a difficult business. You can feel the pressure and the weight on you at certain times. And I guess a lot of that's sort of to do with the pressures of sort of results, and sort of rightly so. There's a lot at stake. It's a high pressure industry in that regard. People are spending a lot of money in purchasing these horses. They're valuable horses. So you really need to be performing. It certainly is results driven. The early part of my career going into partnership with Gay. So I guess I came from stepping out of the background at Gay's, sort of relatively new on the scene, and certainly wasn't at the forefront of the operation by any means. But I did play a sort of significant role behind the scenes for a while. So I think when I stepped out into partnership with Gay and sort of was given that opportunity, it probably caught a few people by surprise, and probably sort of had a few people sort of questioning the partnership, and naturally, is that sort of going to be a success, and you feel that pressure in there to perform. So I feel we're able to do that to a certain extent with some results early in the season, early with the partnership, and certain horses in providing Group 1 winners for us to try and prove that the partnership would be a success. But the Golden Slipper, no doubt, was the biggest race for us. It was the turning point. That's within the industry here in Australia, that's sort of one of the most sort of important races sort of for the industry, for the breed, for the young 2-year-olds. So Gay's sort of had won that a record 6 times prior to us joining the partnership. So our first one together was Farnham. And I think that may have sort of only been our sort of third season together. But I think once we're able to do that, it felt as almost a bit of a turning point in regards to the way that the partnership was perceived, it certainly felt it gave us a level of sort of credibility, that the partnership was, you know, a success and sort of here to hopefully sort of stay, and you know, it can be sort of I guess sort of trusted or relied upon in that sort of aspect of sort of performing at that highest level. So I think from there that created or generated a lot of opportunities going forward, which has sort of helped us sort of build on each year and getting the right quality of horses and support into the stable. So for me, it's always been that horse and that point is sort of where, all right, that's sort of really put the partnership on the map in, you know, in quite a significant way.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing your story. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us on the show. It's been fantastic.
It's been great for sure.